evening, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So in case you don't know, I'm currently busy with a series of tutorials on the basics of Unreal Engine. So if you're a first-time user of Unreal Engine, or perhaps you're someone that's using iClone for your animations, but you want to take your renders to the next level and you want to include Unreal into your pipeline, then this is the video series for you. So last week we looked at how to install the engine. We also looked at the user interface where we compared iClone's interface with Unreal Engine's interface, and we saw that there's actually quite a lot of similarities. This week we're continuing on and we're going to be looking at the contents or the content browser. So in today's video we'll be looking at what are the assets that actually comes inside Unreal Engine. We'll go through them one by one. And we'll also be talking about how you can acquire some contents that you want to add into your projects and how to do that. If you're anything like me, you're not keen on blueprints or you know nothing about Java or scripting, and you want to go the drag and drop route, I'll make a couple of recommendations based on that. So yeah, that's what we got planned for today. I hope you guys get something useful out of it. That's it. Let's go. I know many of you are asking, where do I find all my contents like I do in iClone? So you'll find it in one of two places. The first place is basically where you'll find your quick access template contents, which is very similar to the content template panel in our iClone window. And this can be accessed by clicking on the folder that's got a little plus sign next to it. In here, you'll find the following tabs as you drop it down. Let's go through them very quickly. So the first one is basics, and this is basically all the important content that you need to create a game. Now, I've never used this before. This is probably more for game developers, so I don't actually use it, but you are welcome to check that out on your own time. The second one, which is quite important to us, is lights. And obviously, this is where you'll find all your various types of lights. And you'll see the lights are exactly like they are in iClone. Basically, directional lights, you've got your point lights, you've got everything down to your rect or your rectangular lights here as well. And then if you scroll down, the next tab is something that's new to most of you. It's called the Virtual Production tab. I honestly never used it before, but I can tell you what this does is it's more for those professional virtual producers. It's basically a powerful way for you and your team to create seamless virtual and augmented realities with CGI and footage. Very similar to what they did with The Mandalorian. I'm not sure if you know this, but the latest episodes of The Mandalorian was actually composited inside Unreal Engine using this particular virtual production process. Anyways, moving on to the next tab, which is the Shapes tab. For those iCloners, this is basically your 3D props, like your cubes and all your other 3D shapes, which you can then obviously translate. Next tab is Cinematics, and now this is also an important one. This is where you'll find your camera. Obviously, once you select the camera, look at this, you'll see it automatically open up the camera view, and that particular window will pop up. The camera, like any other object, can also be moved or rotated using those transformation gizmos we spoke about. Next tab, the Volumes tab. And as the name suggests, this is basically where you control certain volumes of space inside your level. Now, I've never used this. This is more for gamers. But I can only imagine how useful this must be for game developers, because this is basically where you block off your area that you want certain things to be triggered. Like, for example, you'll see down here is a pain-causing volume or visibility volume. So if you want something to be invisible for a particular time, you'll use these volume tabs just to specifically isolate areas in your game that you want certain things to happen. The next tab is the Visual Effects tab, another important one for us. I would highly recommend that you familiarize yourself with this, because this is what separates, I think, Unreal from iClone. Because this is where you mess around with the things to get your renders to look more cinematic. The big one here is the post-processing volume. You can add motion blur, bloom, and a whole lot more just to give you that look that you want inside Unreal Engine. You can actually add LUTs in here as well. If I had to compare it to a tab inside iClone, it'll be the Visuals tab. And then the last two tools, I'm not going to go into it, basically all classes and place actor panels. These are also meant more for game developers. The place actor panel, for example, is basically a quick way to grab an asset and just chuck it into your scene. But you're more than welcome to mess around with that in your own time. Alright, Alistair, that's nice, but now where are the real contents? Where are the contents that I've purchased or the contents that come with the program? Where do I find that? That you will find inside the contents drawer, which lies at the bottom of the screen. And for those of you opening it for the first time, you'd never know this, but it's actually a drawer. So if you click on it, it opens, and when you click off it, it closes, which is quite convenient, especially when you're busy with something inside your viewport. So let's open up the contents drawer and let's have a look and see what comes with my first project. So the first, there's basically three items in the contents. The one is main, which is this project actually. That's basically this project. And then next to it, you'll find the main build data, which is basically your project script. And then there's one folder, it's called the starter content folder. Let's open up the starter content folder and find out what comes with the program after you've installed it. So inside there, you'll find a number of folders, each containing certain things which you might be familiar with. So the first one is the architecture folder. And I'm sure it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's inside there. That's basically everything you need to build, well, anything, a building, a project, whatever you want. And you'll see there are some floors in there, there are some pillars in there, there's some walls in there, which you can basically use to build a house, I suppose. Okay, let's bring in some walls. I'm going to start with this particular standard wall, and it's as simple as dragging and dropping. There we go. Okay, let's place our wall there. Let's see what else we can bring in here. Oh, here's another wall with an opening. Let's grab this one. All right, let's place this one over here, and let's try and make like a corner of our house. There we go. All right, let's see what else is in the starter content. So there's a maps folder. A map basically this is your project folder essentially. In Unreal, a map is basically a project, because as you can imagine, that's what games are all about. That's a game engine. So maps are basically levels, which are basically projects. Then there's the materials folder here. Let's open that up. And there you go. It's actually got a nice range of starter PBR materials for you. These are called material instances. I'll get into the detail about what's the difference with the material instance. And basically there's a texture folder here as well, which has got your 2D maps of it. But this particular one actually has our materials in it. And it's the same as in iClone. The materials are basically PBR ready, drag and drop, whereas your textures are just your 2D images. Alright, let's quickly drag some of these materials onto our walls here. Alright, I'm going to choose this old clay brick material. I'm going to just drag and drop that onto this wall. Look at that. I mean, I've been doing this for so long, but it looks amazing. The quality out of the box is actually incredible. You can actually see it in 3D here. Okay, let's give the other wall a different texture. It'll be interesting to see what water looks like on a wall. Let's drag this water onto this wall and see what that looks like. Obviously, it's meant for a horizontal, not vertical surface. Okay, so that's maybe not as cool as I thought. Let's try a different material here. How about this, what looks like a high-tech hexagonal material? Man, this is too cool. Look at that. I'm not sure if you can see this, but look at how, as the wall color changes, it reflects on the other wall, changing it to different colors. How cool is that? I actually didn't know this was going to happen, by the way. Alright, so let's go through the last few folders. The last ones, basically, these are the ones I think I've covered already. Your particles will obviously be where your special effects are. And then here's the props folder, which is where you'd save your props and your environments inside here. Again, if you're iCloner, you'll know what this is. And then our last two folders would be the shapes folder, which is basically your 3D shapes, and then of course your textures, which you've already spoken about. So those are the contents you'll find when you start up your Unreal Engine project. And I think that's where I'm going to call it for today. I hope that you guys got something out of it. I know that it was very basic. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. But please subscribe. Stay tuned, because next week I'm going to go into the actual process of taking things from iClone to Unreal, which is basically the point of this whole tutorial exercise. Next week we'll be looking at the audio setup plugin, and if I can squeeze it into one video, I'll try and do the live link one at the same time. But until next week, thanks for joining me, and yeah, cheers guys, see you then, bye bye.